Today let's chat about some current affairs, especially regarding Sino-US relations. You know, the relationship between these two superpowers is like a serial drama, with new plots every day, but they are always particularly tense. For example, this year, due to the Taiwan Strait and the balloon issue, the Sino-US relationship is like someone poking a wasp's nest. Mr. Storey even said this is a bad omen. A bad omen? This is already a huge red light for us. It's like watching a horror movie. The protagonist in the movie walks into a dark room. The music starts. You know the protagonist is going to be unlucky, but he just doesn't know. And recently, we heard about the incident of Chinese fighter jets intercepting US military planes in the South China Sea. This reminds me of those movies, only here, intercepting planes doesn't require you to cross a laser grid, there's no Agent Jonathan Bentley to save you. This movie is indeed the real version. Hello everyone, I'm your news anchor, Yali. We provide a one-stop service for China-related news here every day. This is something you can't find anywhere else. Welcome back to our channel. If you have any views or thoughts on these topics, feel free to leave a message in the comments section, and we will seriously read and reply to your comments. Let's talk about space issues. China launched the Shenzhou 16-man spacecraft, preparing to stay in the Tiangong space station for 5 months. My goodness, I dare only stay in the supermarket for 5 minutes when shopping, they stay in space for 5 months, it's really thrilling. Then, the United States is not to be outdone. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson warned to be wary of China trying to control the surface of the moon. It sounds like a child's sandbox game. I grab your sand castle, and then you grab my sand castle back. So, I don't know what you think, but I personally hope that space does not become a political battlefield. I just hope to see our scientists discover new planets, new life, not new disputes there. This year, the tense relations between China and the United States have been further exacerbated by issues such as the Taiwan Strait situation and the balloon incident. Ian Storey, a senior researcher at the Yusof Ishak Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in Singapore, believes that China's decision to bypass Austin is not a good sign. As tensions between China and the US escalate, Li Shangfu's refusal to meet Austin may further heighten regional tensions. It sounds like a political academic discourse, but for us ordinary people, we just need to know that tense situations are not a good thing. The US Indo-Pacific Command released a video. Chinese fighter jets unprofessionally intercepted US military aircraft in the airspace over the South China Sea. It sounds like an action scene in a movie, but it is an event in real life. China launched the Shenzhou 16-man spacecraft, and the flight crew of Shenzhou 15 will stay in the Tiangong space station for 5 months and carry out various experimental work. The US-China space race has further intensified. This is a great opportunity to see who can lead in the field of space. Space has become another arena for tense US-China relations. NASA Director Bill Nelson said that the United States should be wary of China's attempt to control the surface of the moon and keep Americans out. While China's space program has developed rapidly in recent years, and the US space program is often mired in conflicting priorities and government changes. A Chinese ship was detained in Malaysia for allegedly illegally salvaging a World War II shipwreck in Malaysian waters. The UK Ministry of Defence strongly condemned this act of desecrating war graves. China's image on the international stage seems to be increasingly questioned. The former leader of the Canadian Conservative Party accused Beijing of actively working to prevent him and his party from being elected. This sounds like a political conspiracy, but who can say that politics is not a field full of conspiracies? At the G7 summit, one of the most concerned issues for participating countries is how to deal with China in the future. A global alliance to curb China's growing influence is emerging. This reminds us of an old proverb, those near vermilion get stained red, and those near ink get stained black. It seems that China's influence has indeed reached a point where other countries are somewhat worried. Russia's newly signed long-term LNG sales contract is zero, and businesses in China and India are also watching. This sounds like an energy crisis. Russia's last LNG long-term sales agreement was signed in January 2022, before the invasion of Ukraine, and the contracting party was a Chinese enterprise. Nvidia's founder and CEO, Jensen Huang, warned that China will cultivate its own chip companies to deal with tense relations with the United States. This sounds like the beginning of an economic war, but we should also realize that China's economic influence is expanding globally. This Tuesday, Lai Ching-te, Terry Gou, Ko Wen-je, and Hu Yui, who are interested in running for Taiwan's election next year, are all in the running. This is an interesting election, and we look forward to seeing who will be the next leader of Taiwan. Recently, the mainland Taiwan Media Beijing Summit sponsored by the Chinese government was given the cold shoulder by Taiwan. It was revealed by the media that due to the low willingness of Taiwanese media to attend, the summit was forced to be postponed twice and scaled down, even causing the anger of the chairman of the CPPCC, Wang Huning. It seems that the cross-strait relationship is still very tense. According to the latest data, the number of births in China for the whole year fell below 10 million, which is less than the total number of deaths. The natural population growth rate has turned from positive to negative, and the national population has decreased by 850,000 from the previous year. This sounds like the beginning of a population crisis. China has become the second populous country with over 1 billion people to see negative population growth, following Japan. The collapse of population structure may impact China's innovation capabilities. This sounds like a tech disaster, but we should also know that China is working hard to push for a high level of opening to the outside world, creating a better market-oriented, law-based, and international business environment for companies from all countries, including Tesla. A government official announced on Monday that China plans to achieve carbon peak by 2035 and carbon neutrality by 2060. This sounds like an environmental commitment, but we should also think about whether these promises can truly be fulfilled. A large number of Western media outlets have issued terrifying warnings about China's economy, with youth unemployment exceeding 20% for the first time and other indicators turning red. This suggests that China's economic situation is not optimistic. The Hong Kong asset management company, WWII Group, plans to sell a large amount of shares, indicating changes in Hong Kong's position in China's economy. The rapid recovery of China's economy after the pandemic is fading due to unresolved deep structural issues in the economy. This is a serious problem as economic development is key to China's future. Moreover, the era of rapid growth in China has ended, the economic recovery in the post-pandemic era is stagnating, and the economy is facing profound structural problems. This is a long-term problem that needs to be addressed. Confidence in China's economy is waning quickly and there is doubt about when government stimulus measures will be introduced. Weak real estate sales, industrial output, and consumption have undermined people's confidence in a rapid rebound in China's economy, but for the government, this might just be a minor issue. After all, the Chinese government has always been good at dealing with various economic challenges, so we should wait and see what will happen in the future. This reminds us of the saying, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket." It seems China's economy indeed faces some challenges. Wang Jianlin continues to seek funding, and Wanda Business plans to sell the Shanghai Wanda Ruiwa Hotel. It seems that even tycoons are worried about the economic situation. However, as China and Russia vie for Central Asia, the 5 Central Asian countries are becoming richer. Many poor countries around the world are facing economic instability or even bankruptcy due to their inability to repay billions of dollars in foreign loans. Up to 50% of these countries' foreign loans come from China. It seems that China's economic influence is expanding globally. Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, emphasized that China should speed up the modernization of its national security system and capabilities to safeguard the new development pattern with a new security pattern. This sounds like an important political statement, but we should also think about whether this will have an impact on China's human rights and freedoms. Amnesty International changed its previous statement, stating that a Uyghur doctoral student from Xinjiang did not go to Hong Kong from South Korea, which triggered a response and apology from the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government of China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry announced that Foreign Minister Chang Gang met with American entrepreneur Elon Musk in Beijing and briefed the contents of their talks. I think this is a very interesting meeting. Perhaps they are discussing how to build a Tesla factory on Mars? Dong Guangping, a Chinese human rights defender, was detained by Chinese authorities in Zhengzhou City, Henan Province. A Canadian human rights organization condemned China's illegal imprisonment, hoping that Canada and the international community will put pressure on China to release Dong Guangping as soon as possible. This reminds us of a saying, what are human rights? You have the right to remain silent, but if you choose to speak, you must pay the price. On the 2-year anniversary of Australian writer Yang Hengjun's secret trial in Beijing, the verdict on the espionage charges against him has been postponed 7 times. Foreign Minister Wang Yingyun issued a statement expressing concern over the Australian government's repeated delays in Yang Hengjun's case. It sounds like the plot of a suspense novel, but it's a real event. The Chinese government has always been controversial regarding human rights issues, and another worrying event has occurred. Lai Changyin received an award on behalf of his imprisoned father, Lai Ziying, for the second time on the 28th from the Visual Artists Association for defending freedom of speech. This is a very touching story. Lai Ziying is a very influential figure in Hong Kong, but he is now imprisoned. He is a Democrat who was jailed for criticizing the Chinese government. Despite receiving the Milton Friedman Award for advancing freedom, he still faces the possibility of being convicted and spending the rest of his life in prison. The permanent termination of hearing applications in the Lai Ziying case was rejected, which disappointed and angered his supporters. It seems that China's judicial system still has a long way to go. Chen Xiaoshan, a popular online personality from Henan, China, also known as National Curse Brother, and Tianzhe, recently joined the ranks of smugglers a year after being released from prison. He is heading to the United States in hopes of seeking political asylum. His only goal is to find a place where freedom of speech is respected, as he fears being punished for his words if he stays in China. It seems that freedom of speech is still a significant issue in China. Cathay Pacific has fired 3 flight attendants who were accused of discriminating against mainland Chinese passengers. It's a good start, but Chinese officials and quasi-officials are trying to steer the discourse towards widespread discrimination against mainland people by the entire Hong Kong team, which is a short-sighted and harmful practice. We should respect everyone's rights, no matter where they come from. A mosque in Yunnan, China was reportedly forcibly demolished by authorities last weekend, sparking protests from local Muslims and resulting in clashes with the police. This seems to be an unnecessary conflict, which could have a negative impact on China's economy. We hope that the Chinese government can solve this problem and promote stable economic development. On the eve of the 34th anniversary of the June 4th incident, veteran democracy activists in Paris, France, held a discussion with young people of the new generation, where both generations shared their experiences in political struggle and their concerns for the future of China. It seems that these young people are not very optimistic about the prospects of Chinese politics. Amnesty International recently announced that a Uyghur man previously believed to have disappeared in Hong Kong has been found. This is good news, but we need more attention and action to protect human rights. Canon has developed quantum-OLED materials that do not use rare metals, hoping to reduce material costs by up to 99%. This is an environmental innovation, but it's also worth noting that China accounts for 59% of the global indium production. China's space program is booming. They not only sent their first non-military astronaut into space, but also plan to send a Chinese person to the moon for the first time by 2030. It seems that it's China's time to showcase itself to the world. In the World Table Tennis Championships, Hinata Satona of Japan defeated Wang Yidi, ranked third in the world, in the women's singles quarterfinals, becoming the only player to prevent a Chinese team monopoly on the podium. Even the mixed doubles silver medalist, Zhang Benzi, acknowledged that China's table tennis strength is unmatched. It seems that in the field of table tennis, China is still the dominant force. How did a missing Van Gogh painting end up linked to Wang Zhongjun and Xiao Jianhua? It's an intriguing story indeed. Daisies and Poppies is one of the last works completed by Van Gogh before his death in 1890. The painting was sold to Berlin art dealer Paul Casseret in 1911, and loaned to Buffalo's Albright Knox Art Gallery in 1962, where it was displayed for decades. It was then bought by a private collector and reappeared at a Sotheby's auction in 2014, where it sold for $61.8 million, briefly displayed in Beijing. Sotheby's handed over ownership of the Van Gogh painting to a man from Shanghai, who was backed by Xiao Jianhua, a reclusive Chinese billionaire based in Hong Kong. But at a public ceremony, Sotheby's handed it over to film producer Wang Zhongjun. Today, Xiao's fortunes have fallen dramatically. He was kidnapped from his luxury apartment in Hong Kong and is now imprisoned in mainland China, convicted of bribery and other improprieties, which prosecutors say threatened the country's financial security. Meanwhile, Wang Zhongjun's business is also struggling, as his film studio loses money each year and he is liquidating assets. The whereabouts of both the painting and its owners are currently unknown. That's all for today's news. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time. Take care.